I think I assumed you would be a great housewife.
I'm a really good housewife.
I think I'm sure Brad would also be a fantastic house husband.
He is actually.
So,
He does the washing. Do you know... Is this recording?
It is recording.
Oh, okay,
we can start it whenever, but this can be the start.
This will make him the envy of all the husbands in all the world. So 18 months ago, the business got really hectic and I was all like, I'm so overwhelmed with my life. And anyway, so I'm hanging out washing and I'm like having a tantrum while I'm hanging out washing. And then Brad comes out and he's a very particular, pedantic man and he likes things a certain way. And he was like, you're hanging out the socks wrong. And I was like, oh, mate, like, don't even. And I lost my shit at him. And then having a bit of a tantrum, and he's like, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he's like, you know what? He's like, how about I just take over this job now? And I was like, what? And he was like, how about I just do the washing? He's like, that way it can be done the way I want it to be done, and then you don't have to worry about it. And I was like, okay. So now we go. I do not do washing.
And there you go.
Brad does the washing. What a guy. But like literally, I'll be like, let's watch a movie and do chills tonight. And he's like, I just got to hang the washing out first. And I'm like, who are you? Like who even... Anyway, he's great. He's a good, very good house husband. He actually is better at being a spouse, house person.
A house spouse.
A house spouse.
Spouse.
He's
House
better
spouse.
at it than me. Much better at it than me.
Well, I think there's a bit of to and fro in teamwork, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's true.
It kind of like, like moving in and living with my girlfriend, and she grew up on a small property, so up at crack of dawn, feeding animals and doing that sort of stuff, right?
Oh, that's cute.
It's good, but we don't have any animals to feed. She's just like going out and feeding. We've got chickens over the fence, but well, they're not ours. We don't have them. But anyway, and so she's up and she's always doing things. And sometimes, like I've had to explain to her, I'm like, I can't read your mind. I don't know whether you need some things done or not. Like that's where clearly, if the washing needs to be, I can put the washing on. I was a very semi-amateur bachelor for a long time. I could look after myself, at least not to die, so I'm fine. But
that's good.
It was interesting seeing the rules were different, right? For me, it's like when the washing's full, then I'll do the washing. Whereas her, she's like, I've got time now, I'll do the washing. And so it's like, well, she's like, I just thought you'd be able to do it. And I'm like, yeah, but to me, based on my rules, I don't need to do it yet. I haven't run out of underwear. Like, it's interesting sort of learning those sort of rules, I suppose.
100%. It's all about expectation management in relationships.
Yeah.
100%.
Indeed. I mean, the communication thing is crucial, and I think it's crucial across... We talk when we globally talk about relationship, we mean partner, right? Significant other. But it's actually like...
Everybody.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that I did was spending more time in understanding how I communicate and how other people vary their communication so that I could learn... not to be a dick to people who didn't communicate the same way. I'm sorry, I shouldn't swear.
No, go for it.
Not to be a eggplant to people around that sort of stuff.
Cucumber.
And it was just a cucumber. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's not bring the size into this, but just to be really. You've lost it. So, but yeah, around that sort of stuff, just to understand it, I suppose, a bit more, and go, hang on a sec. When they do this, it doesn't mean the same thing that if I was to do that.
Yeah.
And then sort of learn how to calibrate and check in and be really clear and open and that. It was really interesting. So
True.
Especially like from obviously a business setting.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, and it's been really good learning that, and then looking back on how many times I'm like, oh man, I messed that up. Oh, I was really wrong, or whatever the case might be. And so, I sort of joke around with Gina, but I'm like, if I met you 4 years ago, we knew each other, but if we wouldn't have worked.
That's funny, isn't it? I think about that.
Yeah, but that's all right. Well, this has been a fantastic start to the podcast already.
Yes.
I wish we pressed record as soon as we caught up. That would have made a great Seinfeld episode. But I've got a couple of questions, and you'd be out of here just after 2, so we've got another maybe just under 20 minutes.
Love it.
And firstly, and I didn't ask you before, do you have anything pressing or anything of interest to you that you want to bring up today?
Oh, I like talking about everything.
Great.
Yeah.
Everything good. Well,
Yeah.
where do we start?
No, questions are good. I like questions, and
Okay.
then let's see where they go.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
I've got a question if we've got time, just around the alcohol side of things, because you were you were like leaning into the idea of having a whiskey with me today.
Yeah, I would if I wasn't driving, but I just feel like it just goes straight into my blood. But yeah, alcohol, love it.
Yeah, I usually put whiskey on a drip. You
I
love it.
love talking about it.
Right. Yeah, just love it. Let's start with some questions. So my mood prep fam had some questions for you.
Excellent.
I'm just going to get up. So Courtney goes, what does Kate think the next mainstream nutrition fad will be?
Oh,
And
that's
then
such a good question.
there's two good questions here. They're fantastic. And she goes, I'm seeing a lot of mushroom tonics on the gram lately.
Oh, I've not seen mushroom tonics, so
Yeah.
that's the first I've heard of it. Boom. Yes, definitely. Vegan is on the rise, 100%. Definitely.
Yeah, I
That
would
is
agree with that.
becoming more and more popular, like the whole concept of a plant-based diet. I think for sustainability, environmental reasons, ethical reasons, as well as health. I think there's lots of drivers of that trend.
Mm-hmm.
Keto.
There's also moral reasons that go into that. Did you mention that? Sorry, the ethical moral reasons?
Yeah, definitely. I think probably most vegans that I've met over the years are ethically driven
Yeah.
vegans. But I think from a health perspective, it's becoming more popular.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Keto is obviously on the rise. I actually predicted that. There's an article. If you Google 2017 diet trends, I wrote an article and I predicted keto would be popular. And boom, here we are.
I feel like you're not credited enough for all your
Somebody buy me a lottery ticket.
like quotes and that kind of stuff. Like
Oh, that does happen.
the chocolate egg quote.
The paleo joke. That was
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm cool with it. Some money would be nice. No, just jokes. Yeah, what else is trendy? So I also think there's this whole trend in food for stress reduction. Have you heard of adaptogens?
Yeah, I haven't looked into them too much.
I don't know much about them either. In fact, just when I Googled them, I read a whole 800-word article on adaptogens and still really didn't know what they were by the end of it.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes a lot of the people, when it comes to like the nutrition side of things, they almost start to bring in new words. They're words, but to confuse and almost to scare people. I remember when I used to work with a multi-level marketing company that was encouraged from my old place of work, which the product was really good, but some of the words were was oxidative stress, and so it was we were taught how to sell oxidative stress, even though it's a real thing. But hey, I've got a solution for the thing that you didn't even know you had, because it's a secret killer of your happiness and aging.
So true.
So yeah.
Actually, did you know that? Oh, just on oxidative stress.
Sure.
So a new study came out from people who actually researched this stuff. So they've spent their whole life on reactive oxygen species and antioxidants and stuff like that. And so people are obsessed with taking antioxidants to get rid of the oxidative stress.
Mm-hmm.
But in fact, they reckon that the drivers of the metabolic adaptation to training and exercise is mediated by oxidative stress. So they're if you take too many supplemental antioxidants, you almost dull or blunt. So it's kind of that whole thing of sometimes stress in the right dosage is good for us. Like the butterfly coming out of the cocoon.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
But I was oh, that's fascinating, because because certainly my experience of that was that, the more antioxidants, the better. But it's more, if you think about it, it's just about the balance, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's very similar to training and recovery. And so people within a normal training cycle, not for competition, maybe they're building up to competitions later, but they're taking a lot of recovery practices. So not just protein and that kind of stuff to help recover the muscle from I suppose a chemical standpoint, more ice baths and chirotherapy, I think it's called, anti-inflammatories. But and it does actually help speed up the recovery process, but what it also impacts the actual response to the stimulus. And so it actually blunts that. So come to competition, those things are actually quite good, because you can recover quickly to compete. but leading up to actually
actual training.
Yeah.
So true.
A lot of those recovery practices is like just super fancy, the trigger, like the muscle things, that kind of stuff. It's like, well, are they actually doing anything for your long-term performance? We had the guys from Renaissance Periodization out here last year, and they have a wealth of, from a nutrition standpoint, they've got 20 PhDs, but they were actually talking predominantly more about like sports recovery in the sense of that sort of stuff, and not just from a nutrition standpoint, from a mindset standpoint and that sort of stuff. Really interesting stuff. So the stuff that's obviously on trend is usually on trend for a reason. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So I think that kind of thing is, I don't know, we just all, I feel like, we talked about this last time, like life it's hard. I think there's a lot of stress and mental health challenges, depression, anxiety, pressure. I think people feel pressure. I certainly feel pressure most days, just to be, I don't know, something. And so that people are trying to escape it in some way. Like, can this pill of adaptogens like help me manage my stress better? Yeah. Like, can I try and like can my diet like help me? And I think to an extent, certainly. And I've just started weight training today. First day back.
I saw a selfie. Did I like the selfie? I should have liked the selfie.
Well, thank you. Yep. Did some squats. Very light ones, but I can feel it in my bottom right at this moment, actually. And anyway, so there's obviously exercising because I haven't been, and I know that it makes me feel better. So I was like, there's that extent to where it does actually help you do life better.
Sure.
But I don't think to the point where you can, I don't think it's to be an end all. I wouldn't rely on a bottle of adaptogens to manage stress. I'd look at much other
Yeah. Well, it
ways
sounds
to
like
do that, but
and this is, I'm sure I would have been stuck in this space at least for a little while. People are trying to make up for the 90 with the 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to make up for the lack of their, diligence and consistency in the 90% of stuff that matters with the 10% of stuff that's peak performance or whatever.
Yeah.
Or peak profit for some companies in this
example.
example.
Exactly. And I think if you, 100%, if your diet quality is bad and you're inconsistent with eating well day to day, a little bottle of
BCAAs.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
MCT, oils, BCAAs, antioxidants, then really not going to cause that much of an effect than if you just actually focused on overall diet quality and got some good habits in place. But, I could talk forever about that. Anyway.
We don't have forever today.
No.
Next time we might.
Did I answer that question though?
We looked at what trends there were. And so,
I don't know about the mushroom one. I'm totally going to look into that.
Speaking about Gina, she has mushroom coffee.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, which she loves. I don't know if it's like a whole Mario Kart thing, like mushroom, like power boost, maybe. But do you know that the biggest living organism on the planet is actually a fungi?
That's cool. Where is it?
It's in like Siberia or Russia. It's what's the guy? Paul Stamos. I'm pretty sure the guy's name is on the Joe Rogan show. Talks about mushrooms. I should actually flick you that podcast. They talk about mushrooms for 2.5 hours. It's fucking crazy.
Mushrooms are cool. Mushrooms aren't a vegetable.
What are they?
A fungi.
As soon as I said that, I'm sorry for everyone that has ever listened to my podcast. So,
but anyway,
tomatoes.
But for the, for the whole hit your 5 a day, mushrooms can totally count, but they're not technically a vegetable.
Right.
They're not a plant. They're a fungi.
It's like I've been a lie this whole time. No.
I know.
So anyway, so that's where
there you go.
It was really interesting actually the stuff that they talk about, even from like a psychedelic standpoint as well. Really quite interesting. I've never had mushrooms from a psychedelic standpoint.
No, me neither.
I had mushrooms in my my scrambled eggs, but that's about it. But cool. Great. Okay, so vegans on the rise. Mushrooms you're going to check out and get back to her.
Yeah, like it.
Delicious. Mel. Loved her on the podcast last time. Dave was okay.
I like you, Mel. Thank you, Mel.
When she has a new patient, at what stage of their journey does she recommend exercise of cheese, exercise/movement without overwhelming them with change?
Oh, great question. Probably depends on the person and where they're at and with how they're going with their dietary change and just life in general. It's actually interesting because I was chatting to a friend of mine who is a psychologist. She doesn't practice in psychology anymore, but we were just talking about the stress of behavior change and how it's actually it's difficult for a lot of people. And I was noticing that there's probably maybe 5% of participants on my program at the moment who have just taken a break for psychological reasons, mental health. And it really got me thinking as to why. I was like, I wonder if that's normal for any program, like had they tried any program, or because I'm specifically doing a habit building and I'm actually getting people to think, like, why are you doing that behavior?
Yeah.
It's actually sort of uncovering a lot of the root cause for them. Anyway, that's a bit of a side note. So I guess, yes, depends on where the person is at in their journey and their ability to cope with something like that. But certainly, within the first month or so, if they're doing really well with their nutrition, I will often be like, okay, is there some sort of movement that you can put in? And depending on their level of fitness, I'll then either get them to start small or go and see somebody, because I'm not a PT or an exercise phys or anything like that. But I often am like, can you just do a walk or a class that you like at the gym, and just usually encourage them to do something they enjoy that doesn't feel like a chore, because we don't like chores. So,
well, I mean, that's the other thing is that a lot of the time, and the fitness industry has a lot to answer for with this around exercise is punishment. You come back for another flogging. It's like, oh, I ate bad, so I need to earn something. And it's like understanding language and how language affects everything that we do and how we feel and how we think. And a lot of the time with the coaching that I do, it's like people don't realize how powerful the throwaway comments are. Where they're like, oh, but not that she would have cared anyway. So, and then off that, I'm like, well, hang on a sec. What? How do you know? And you find that there's something uncovered there. And it's the same when it's like, I don't even see the point in doing it. I'm not going to get any better. And it's like, is that right? So you can start seeing these deeper core beliefs that people have that they may never have said to themselves out loud, but have thought somewhere behind. And when doing the digging work like you're talking about, it can really sort of expose that and it can be confronting.
Yeah, I think what I have learned is probably back in my early days, I would have been much more prescriptive in that I would have been like, someone would come to see me and I would say, well, I can't change your eating habits in 1 hour, but let's do a couple of sessions together. We'll do this, and then we'll get you started on this topic. Then we'll learn carbs. Then we'll learn about protein. Then we'll learn about fats, and give them the education and just through bit by bit tweak their diet. And then I'd be like, and it'd be really good if you could, are you doing any exercise? Because that really helps too. And it was just all about here's what you need to do to get what you want. But these days, that's not enough for people. I think for whatever reason, they have varying levels of self-awareness, and when they can't just do basic behavior management, they have to then just strip it all back and start with like really tiny, small things and just be okay with that. But that's a good question. I think you just got to go with your gut and read the person, and I think people appreciate honesty. Yeah.
Well, people appreciate dealing with a human.
Yeah.
Rather than simply going, this will work. Good. I'll just give you that. And if you can't do that, then something must be wrong with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you chucked anybody into some program, and if they did the whatever sessions a week and followed the diet, everybody would just get better. Lose body fat, build muscle, whatever they wanted to do. Yeah. Just like stick them in the machine, go through the motions out. Yeah. We know it works, but that's not the problem. Yeah. The problem is the application, and that for many people is not as simple as just the information.
Exactly right. Well, it's one of the things, and there's two things I want to add to it. It's like I'll say it this way, you can't fix an emotional issue with a logical solution. Yeah. And so sometimes it has to go towards that sort of more challenging conversations and stuff that's more difficult and painful or uncomfortable. However, on the other side of that is actually freedom from whatever's sort of holding you back. But it's also one of the questions that I'll ask people is, what could you do that you would do? And so really defining not just what could you do, but what could you do that you would do in order to be able to, you know, take a next step, and remind people that it's not about ticking the box and then moving on. It's about don't practice something till you get it right. Practice till you can't get it wrong. Let that be now the actual habit.
Yeah.
Rather than going, otherwise we're just like accomplishing to the grave of boxes ticked on a life that we're meant to live, and it's just like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a great question.
Very good question.
So I had those 2 questions from my lovely family. But I'm curious to know, because the reason why this came up and sort of where I brought up my beliefs around alcohol, I was at a summit 4 years ago now, I think it was. And the experts on stage were asked what are their opinions on, you know, is alcohol healthy? And I remember thinking, well, yes. It wasn't like, it's not like a blanket yes, but a lot of the time they're coming from this, of course, very, you know, some people like maybe a red wine's fine here and there, and they're coming from this very, what's it called, like scientific approach, I suppose.
Yeah.
And which is true. I get it. It's also one of the things that I constantly say to people. It's like, it's far healthier to have a beer with some mates, with some good banter and a laugh, than it is to bitch about someone over a salad.
Yeah.
And it's understanding that health is more than simply our exercise plan and our nutrition plan. So what's your perspective on alcohol? I know that you're a bit of a heavyweight. So.
Look, I think that's a great question. I actually think that it needs context.
Yeah.
At its core. So, do you know what's really interesting that you said about like having a beer with mates compared to being nasty over a salad? So, there's actually this really cool alcohol study. I can't remember it, and I would say that I'd find it, but I don't have time to go find it. So, I'm not going to find it either. But if you Google Scholar it, I'm sure you'll find it. There's a really good study where they looked at like alcohol, like drinking patterns among populations, and then health outcomes. And of course, in observational studies, you can't control variance. So you have to take results with a grain of salt. But the basic conclusions of the study was that those who drank alcohol socially, so say like, think Mediterranean, big family, lots of beautiful food, 3 generations of people.
Sunshine.
Yeah, right? Sunshine, rainbows, like a little lammy on the grass. Yeah. Meh.
Yeah, Billy.
Compared to the person who drank...
Not Billy in Mediterranean, but yeah.
No. Anyway. Yeah, there'd be lambs there.
No, but you probably wouldn't call him Billy in Croatia. Yeah. No. I ruined the story. Please continue.
You really like... Jonas or something. I don't know. I'm sorry if that offended somebody. I don't know much about the Mediterranean, except that I should have been born there. But compared to the person who drinks in isolation, alone, without a meal, and I think that says a lot about the context of alcohol to me. Certainly, physiologically, when you look at alcohol metabolism, you're like, ooh. Makes you think twice about whether you want to put that in your body or not, if you look at it at a frank chemical level. Yeah. I've also never been a big drinker, because when I drink alcohol, I don't feel like happy and tell awesome jokes and then have a fun time. I usually feel quite down and depressed, and then like get headaches, and I don't know, it just never made me feel really good. So I never did much drinking, but I've had plenty of lovely times over red wines with girlfriends. And so I agree. I think there is a balance that's probably different for everybody. And I think that there are some people who probably shouldn't drink at all for certain reasons and have found that that's a better life for them. And then there are other people who it is an important part of their life. Yeah, I know. I think. But yeah, certainly too much though. Absolutely. Your little liver will eventually not be happy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's really interesting, and obviously, like, you can still have. I think you can still have good banter and a laugh over a salad.
Yeah, absolutly. Yeah, my salads.
I've
for
seen
sure.
heaps of stock photos of people laughing over a salad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I laugh every time I eat salad.
Yeah. I usually. I don't. But I do enjoy a salad. I actually do. But I think that's one of the biggest things for me is, like, 'cause I grew up around alcoholism. I grew up in a pub, and so for probably about 2 years of 10 to 12, like I played pokies when I was 10, I remember.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is the worst Xbox because I have to keep on getting money.
Yeah.
But in that circumstance, it was sort of like I saw what alcohol abuse looked like. And even today, I enjoy a beer. But and as we mentioned at the start, like I enjoy whiskey and that. But I was listening to the Joe Rogan and Elon Musk and they'll podcast, and they're talking about watches, and like some watches are like $750,000,
watches.
right?
Yeah. I was like, what's a watch? I like to see.
Yeah.
What's he do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Watching. Yes, that's right. But but they still just tell the time.
Yeah.
However, it's the craftsmanship that goes into the watch apparently that makes it so valuable. Not just for that. I mean, that's a ridiculous price tag, but it's the craftsmanship, right? And so, to me, that's one of the biggest things that I enjoy about whiskey, and that's why it's on my bookcase, is because it's the stories that come along with it and the craftsmanship and learning about that, rather than simply pouring a Johnny Walker black or red or whatever and having. To me, that's like, well, what am I doing? I'm just drinking now. I'm not understanding something that someone put passion into, and so
that's so interesting. So total opposite upbringing, pastor's kid. Possibly legalistic upbringing about alcohol, so didn't drink as a teenager because I was afraid that something that bad would happen to me. And that was my response to the rules, was to be like, oh, I'll follow these rules, as opposed to like some pastors' kids or other kids who grow up in homes like that and rebel. I was like, whew. But did it out of fear, and I actually didn't start drinking until like my mid-20s, because until I realised that I could have faith in God, because I do, and that I could drink alcohol and he would not smite me.
Right. And he hasn't smited?
No smited, just lots of love. And I wouldn't say I have a legalistic faith at all. In fact, my whole experience of that has been not that at all. Just that's not what he wants from us, is to just chuck rules on us. Anyway, but it's funny, so coming into that, to being afraid of alcohol, and but not from a health, but from like moral, and thinking like if I did that, then I would be a bad person. And so to have come to this point in my adulthood and almost reached the same conclusion, happy to have a nice drink that I enjoy with my friends, and not too much because it does make me sad and I just question all the things. Yeah. It's interesting that we've come to the same point.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
Different perspectives.
Like I had a couple of, I was at home listening to some webinars and doing some work on Saturday night, and so I had a couple of whiskeys there. But the thing is that most of the whiskey that I do drink is pretty good whiskey. It's from a price range somewhere between maybe $90 to $200 per bottle, sort of thing. But it's not like I'd go through it. It's I'll have one, maybe two. Like, you said you follow my Insta story and it's basically just whiskeys. It's like, yeah, but there's dogs. But
I haven't seen any dogs yet. I need to pay more attention.
Definitely need to pay more attention. But what the point of that sort of was looking at it and going like, if I have as many bottles as I do, but I have one of different ones per, like I have 2 whiskeys a week. Right, on a Friday and then a Saturday, and I'll choose different bottles. Yeah. Then it becomes like a completely different experience throughout the whole, year almost. So it's really sort of understanding that and going, well, A, it's expensive. I don't want to drink lots of it. That's for sure. But B, it's also like I'm actually able to enjoy it rather than I'm drinking alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's really interesting, but that's good. I'm curious around the thoughts and ideas around, because there is that scientific point of view of going, this isn't very good for your health, and of course people can go to the pub and not drink, and I had a year off alcohol, raise money for Camp Quality, and but it's sort of, I suppose, understanding the person's relationship they have with it.
Yep. And I think that's really the main thing, and I say this to my clients all the time over anything, whether it's alcohol or chocolate or any kind of thing that they think is a vice, is I'm like, look, the thing that's frustrating you the most is that you're in conflict with yourself, because you want one thing, I want to lose weight and I want to be a healthy eater, and you have an expectation in your head of what that should be, yet you do another. So you've got this health value and what that looks like in your head, and then you've got these other reasons as to why you keep going back to your whatever vices you've got. I was like, and you're in conflict with yourself. You just are frustrated because you want one thing that yet you do another. And healthy living is trying to get the two things to sit together. It's not one trumping another, because that will actually make you resent.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's actually going, well, I eat chocolate and I am a healthy person. So, you know, if eating chocolate makes me unhealthy, well, then I'm technically unhealthy. But I know for a fact that I'm not. I am a healthy person. And it's because the two things for me sit together, and I enjoy them. And my expectation of what healthy is allows that to happen. And I think that's what people need to sort of find, is how they can get that stuff to sit together. I think alcohol falls into that bag as well.
Absolutely. Kate, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for jumping on.
You're so welcome.
I have to let you go to your next appointment.
Oh, it's a busy day.
It is.
Yeah.
It's Monday.
Love Mondays.
Yeah, well, Mondays are good. Absolutely. So, otherwise, is there anything you would like to finish up with on the show? Any comments? Any sign-offs? No?
No. I want to think about this more, so it's really good. I just feel like I'm going to be like, over and out.
Yeah, that's right. You stay classy.
Say hi to your mum for me.
Yeah. Well, I will be more than likely to invite you back onto the podcast soon enough. I'm sure the fam has more. I've never called them fam out loud like that. But anyway, the Mood Prep clan, fam.
He's bonding with you guys.
Yeah, I love you. Anyway, and they'll have more questions as well. But otherwise, team, if you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean the world to both myself and Kate if you would pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it really beneficial. Otherwise, if you haven't already, jump on davenixon.com.au/memberships and check out Mood Prep online. Otherwise, that's it. I'm gonna finish up there.
Great.
Last thing is, for those that haven't heard the last one, where can they find you?
Oh, at healthyeatinghub.com.au and Kate Freeman Nutrition on Facebook.
Beautiful. Team, until next time, peace and pizza.
Over and